Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live demo on our Facebook page. So getting started, I like doing this every other week. This seems like a good pace, but if you guys want it to be different, definitely let me know. But this seems to be working really well for everybody. So today we're gonna be talking about relationships and what that means and how that shows up in our life, and then how we can use the quantum biofeedback to balance that. So a few things to get started. As you guys know, I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming to be a doctor. I'm not claiming to treat or diagnose any kind of illness. I am not a therapist. I'm not any of those things. My training comes from energetic kinesiology, applied neurology, and then also I am a doctorate student at Quantum University, getting my doctorate in quantum medicine. So just the disclaimer that I'm not gonna try and diagnose or treat anything, but we will be looking at the energetics of what is going on in relationship. Hi, Sarah. And how the dynamics of what's going on energetically between you and the people in your life have an impact on our health and our well-being. And also like ways to kind of harmonize. When you think about the fact that we are energetic beings having a human experience, then that means that our energy is interacting with the energy of everyone around us all the time. And sometimes that can be in harmony, as we know, and sometimes that can be out of harmony, as we know. So we're going to be working today to look to see kind of patterns around relationship and see what we can figure out. Okay, we're going to be working today with the quantum biofeedback machine, and most of you have heard me say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The quantum biofeedback machine is it was developed by, well, this particular technology that I use is called the Genius, and was developed by Insight Health Apps. And he took Ryan Williams is the developer, and he took the quantum biofeedback machines, like a Skio machine or an Indigo machine, and he created it in an app form so that we can have it more in an updated technology, like using it on your iPad, which also makes it more accessible because the Skio machines can be, $10,000 to $20,000 depending on what you're getting. I like this particular technology in my practice because I've been able to build my own libraries and add in a ton of information that I know from my trainings, so that I can build a really deep customized session for my clients or my group. I work on individuals and I work on a group. So the way that a quantum biofeedback machine works in this particular case is it uses a couple of different things to read your energy. So it's going to use your archetypal information like your name and your birthday, but it's also going to use this really cool voice technology that's pretty cutting edge. It was developed for the developer through MIT, reads the voice pattern, and we know now that our voice kind of holds the signature of our entire energetic being, and we can use that to gather information, and also it will use a picture. And then it takes all that information and it runs the frequencies that it finds there, and it compares them in this algorithm to this database of frequencies. And what it basically gives us is a printout of kind of what is energetically in balance and what is energetically out of balance, so that we can look to see patterns and things that might be going on to help people have a deeper understanding to help heal themselves, right? So the idea here is the biofeedback component is that I'll be able to point some information out, which allow Stacy, who's going to be, hold on one second. I have somebody who might be trying to be in the Zoom. So I'm just going to let him know that we're not in the Zoom real quick and that we are over on Facebook. Sorry. Okay, so I think probably most of you have seen me, but I'm pretty sure that it's up on the screen, so I think you can see it. Oh, sorry. Did it find my face? You can't find me. There I am. I'll just keep getting closer. Okay, so today we are going, hi Greta. Today we're going to be working with Stacy, and I'm not sure if Stacy's here yet. I'm sure she's still trying to figure it out, but she will be here soon. I know she's coming. And we're going to be working on, now Stacy is also a client of mine. So I happen to know that she's got some things going on, and she's got some relationship stuff. And this is a really great opportunity to talk about how stress and things like that are going to affect her and what's going on for her. So again, when we run this database, what we're going to see is kind of a printout of basically what's going on in the physical body on from an energetic perspective, not diagnostically. And then we're going to be looking at the mental body, what's going on in the mind field. And then we also look at the biofield, so we can look at hi Whitney, we can look at the energetic picture of like what's going on with her meridians and her chakras, and so we can kind of get this whole picture. And you guys have seen me do a basic demo before where I just use that information to kind of figure out what's going on for somebody, and we balance that. But today we're going to get more specific, and we're going to look at relationship, because relationship is an entangled place. So you guys know, you've heard me say this, but in a quantum perspective, all energy in the entire, so there's the 5 bodies of consciousness. I know you guys have seen me do it. I'm going to hold it up. The 5 bodies of consciousness. So at the top, we have the bliss body, and that is the all one energy, right? I like to explain this so that we can even begin to get our tiny minds around it. Like the ocean is consciousness. It is all things. And every drop of water inside that ocean that makes up that ocean is a different frequency of possibility or potential. All potentials, all possibilities exist inside this one big energy. We call that the bliss body. And then from that energy, you can think we kind of download into human. So we go through the supramental level, which is the level of our intuition and our creativity, but it's also the level of our like archetypal information. So we're starting to kind of take form out of that. So if you think like the water is not really separate from the ocean, we're just kind of forming it into a shape. So like maybe a wave, an individual wave, that's all these different droplets that become us. So we have the supramental level, then we have the mental level. So the supramental, the archetypes, the personality traits, the astrological chart, all that kind of guides the thinking patterns. And that's the mental level, how we think, how the mind assigns meaning to what we're experiencing. And when our mind thinks a thought, it moves energy in our energy field, it emotes, and that moves the energy through the meridians, it moves energy through the chakras, it moves chemistry, it makes brain chemistry, it makes body chemistry controls protein production controls DNA expression. So we literally physically become, on a physical level, we become what's going on in this huge energetic picture of molded from this one consciousness. So we're not really separate ever from that one consciousness. We're just kind of an expression of it. And so why I went through all that is to say that relationship then is you're not really separate, right? Like, so being separate is an illusion. So I'm not really actually separate from you guys, and you're not actually separate from me. We are just 2 forms of that wave reflecting information to each other. And so relationship is then about how those frequencies of me interact with the frequencies of people around me. And how my archetypal information, kind of the things that I brought into this world to work on this time around, how the people around me are going to reflect that so that I can have the soul growth that I wanted to have. So we come here as spiritual beings or energetic beings having a physical experience, and we do that because we want to experience ourselves. So if you think about the all one consciousness, that bliss body, it can't really experience itself because it just is. We become human so that we can have experience, we can grow our soul, so that we can experience ourselves from different perspectives. And then from that place, we invite the world to reflect that back to us. And so our world is literally of our creating. We invite certain relationships, and we invite certain things, and we invite certain events into our lives. None of it from the grand scheme of things is good or bad. It's all there for our growth experience. There is no bad. It's interesting. I was in the car with my daughter yesterday, and she asked a really profound question. She said, well, if we control our own reality, or we create our own reality, then why did I cut my finger? And a couple weeks ago, she had sliced her finger pretty good, and we had to go get stitches. I mean, it was a pretty big thing. And what she really was asking was, the deeper question is, if we create our own reality, then why do we suffer? And it's such a, for a 13-year-old to be thinking in that terms, it just warmed my heart. Of course, then I gave her a 20-minute answer. She rolled her eyes and we moved on. But the idea here is that relationships, the idea of suffering is still an experience. We're still looking to have that experience. And the suffering, remember, I've talked about this before. I like to call sandpaper for the soul. Now, I learned that from Darlene at university. At Unity in the Blue Ridge, she talks about pain and suffering being, the sandpaper for our soul. It's like it gets gritty so that our soul can really shine up, so that we can really experience something and grow. We can't grow if we're not being pushed to our edges. So that's what relationship really is, right? Like, when you think about it that way, there isn't a good or bad relationship. There's only place for us to experience something and grow from it. Doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean it's bad. I'm not saying that in any way that we're condoning negative behavior, right? So I just want to make that clear, especially as we talk about relationship and we talk about forgiveness and things like that. There's no excuse for another human degrading another human in any kind of way. I'm not making excuses for that. But when we talk about forgiveness, it isn't about forgiving that person for their sake. Forgiveness is about releasing ourselves from the control of that situation. It's about forgiving them so that you can grow, learn what you need to learn, and then move on from them. Forgiveness does not also equal having to invite that person back into your life. You can forgive somebody and still have a really strong boundary, and I highly encourage that. So as we talk about relationship, I want you to hold that space. And I'm not saying that we should just, walk through life and let things happen to us because we created it for our own experience. That's true, but it's also for us to learn to set boundaries and to learn to move away and to learn to grow and become independent in different ways. Okay, getting off my soapbox there. Let's jump into the quantum biofeedback. So I've already loaded up her picture and all of those things. So it's run the database, and now it's given me this printout of what's going to be kind of in balance or out of balance so that we can look at it. And you guys know I like to start with the aura picture. So our aura is just the product of being an electrical being. Everything that is electrical has an auric field. We know that has an electromagnetic field. And so we can take a picture of this auric field using this technology, and it will kind of give us a quick look at what's going on overall. So it looks like right now there's some purple in there. So purple is our higher consciousness. It's our crown chakra. It's our connection to our higher self. It's our intuition. But it looks also pretty muddy around up in that higher area. It looks muddy all around. So there's some stuff going on there that's kind of blocking her intuition, blocking her connection to her highest self, although she's trying to get in there. Looks like there might be some green or yellow down in that right-hand corner. So some healing energy maybe trying to move in, maybe some self-confidence trying to move in, but too murky. There's quite a bit of stuff just murking it up. And so her energy field is really full right now of disturbance, right? So we want to look at what's going on there. And like I said, today we're going to look primarily at the relationship. So now I have a program called The Bliss of Union, and that comes from Ariel Policano, who's just this amazing mentor and to people that use the Genius Biofeedback. And this is one of her programs, and I find it to be beautiful when it comes to working through relationship issues for both for ourselves and for in partnership. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Now, this particular program has four kind of components. So the first component is the personal clearing. We can't do anything in relationship until we worked on our own shit. I said it on Facebook. So let's look to see first what might be going on here and what we may need to look at for her. So right at the top in the red, now remember we're looking at red and blue being kind of the most out of balance, yellow being, well, I'm not in balance, but I'm not the priority either. And then green being somewhat in balance in relationship to what we're talking about. So we're going to look at the reds and the blues first. So the reds are the clear past hurts. So this is a big one in relationship. If you don't if you don't let go and do the forgiveness work of old stuff, you can't connect in the now. If you don't let go of the old, you stay in a reactive pattern. And reactive patterning keeps us in the past, not the present. And if you can't be in the present, then you cannot create your future. You can't create a future from a past conditioned place. So we have to start by clearing all the old stuff out. I thrive in a relationship while keeping myself healthy and whole. This is really common for women. They tend to give themselves up into a relationship, both with not even necessarily with their partner. They may hold a really strong connection with their partner, but they give themselves up to their children a lot. And remember, we are not just talking about partnership relationship, we're talking about relationship. So that's everybody, right? So especially our children reflecting back to us quite a bit about our own selves and what we need to let go of. I become ready to be in a healthy relationship with ease. So there's some stuff going on that doesn't allow her to feel ease in a relationship. And then, there's no blues. All right, so we're going to put these reds in, and that's kind of where we're going to start with clearing old past. Now, you guys know I like to dig a little deeper. So I'm just going to look to see if I need to do any cross-referencing to those, and if we could gather any more information. Now, they're saying that, yes, I could. So I'm just going to look to see if I need to go into brain integration, and I do now. Brain integration is my history. I think most of you know that. I come from the land of working with neural pathways. So ADD, learning differences, anxiety, depression, that's been kind of my overall work for many years. And so I've built that brain integration into here, because the thing is, if you're clearing past stuff, then we are looking at brainstem and limbic stuff that's going on that's keeping her in a reactive pattern. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull those in. In this case, I'm simply going to go for a panel we call, this comes from the Learning Enhancement Acupressure from Charles Krebs, and who developed it. He's one of the leading developers in energetic kinesiology. He developed what's called applied neurology. And so this is kind of one of his basics. It's about how the amygdala, which is the sentinel of fight or flight, and kind of control, it does a lot of things, not just that, but it's going to control us being in kind of a reactive place. And so we want to look to see, in this place, it looks like it's panic, right here at the top, amygdala, pain, punishment. So that's fear of pain, fear of punishment. So the fear of old, like she's been in a relationship that's been hurtful. She's been punished. She's been in pain. There's sadness, there's grief, there's depression. And that creates a sense of panic in the now. And so if she's panicking now, she can't move forward, right? There's also some underlying anger, rage, and frustration, which is very typical, especially if we haven't. So when you think about the brainstem, it's like rage is the brainstem reptilian, and then anger is more the limbic emotional, and then frustration is more when we're in a more integrated place, we just get frustrated, right? But like we can also drop right down into rage, which kind of shuts down. The amygdala shuts down brain integration, which is, brain integration is just about the ability for the right and the left brain and the entire brain, not just the right and the left brain, but the entire brain to work efficiently. And so the amygdala has direct access to kind of shutting that down and kind of leaving us in this past reactive place. So we've got some right-left switching in there, and that's fine. That means that the right and the left brain are having a little bit of a hard time communicating across the corpus callosum, but it also looks like at the amygdala level, there's a little bit of stress. So the corpus callosum joins the right and the left brain. The right and the left brain don't touch. They join through the corpus callosum. And at that amygdala level, there's some struggle with information moving across. And the right brain, which is involved in like the creative side, the part that's going to really help her heal, the more artistic side, the more intuitive side, with the more logical side, right? So it's keeping those two sides from really fully connecting at that level. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull those things in, because I know she's going to need them to help balance that past stuff. I'm also just going to take a quick look to see if I need to look at the reticular activating system, which is in the brainstem, and the reticular activating system kind of is involved in several different things. There's three kind of pathways of that, but I want to look at So it looks like it's not so bad. The lateral up here is in there. So we've got some stress in that area. But what I was going to say is the reticular activating system can be involved in like setting the vigilance level, setting the anxiety levels. The medial area really is involved in like PTSD and like kind of setting off some of that true anxiety, that vigilance, which I just wanted to check to see if that's involved in this. We're going to throw it in there and we'll see. And then, you know, in general, it looks like it's doing okay, but we'll look to see what shows up if when we run the panel in a minute. Okay, that's all I need for the cross-reference there. So now we're going to go into the bliss of union 2, which is to clear childhood wounds, right? Like, so if you're in some old stuff, and it looks like we're in some old stuff, and childhood, remember, from 0 to 7, as the brain develops, well, like in utero to age 7, as the brain is developing, it tends to be in the theta wave, which is the wave of the subconscious, unconscious mind. So everything that kind of we're exposed to, this is why childhood trauma is so bad, is it's kind of gets pre-programmed as the filter, or like it becomes a filter in which we're viewing things through. So we have to clear that lens out and make sure that we can be in the present moment. So there's toxic cords from past persons and relationships. So now we're going to remove those, clear them, and harmonize them. We want to balance oxytocin, which is the neurotransmitter of connection and being able to really open our heart space. I release the abandonment of my childhood. Abandonment is a big one. I forgive my partner somewhere in the past. There's things, or even now. I allow joyful connection and release past wounds. So it looks to me like we've got some real protected heart space stuff going on, that because there's past stuff, it's really hard for her to live right now in the present and stay connected. I consciously remove toxic cords. So there's quite a bit of toxic cording, it looks like, going on. So it's maybe one thing that I can really work with her is doing some cord cutting. I let go of childhood wounds that took place between 8 and 11 years old. So there's a really specific time now that's saying this is a time where things were pretty rough in some kind of way, and that toxic stuff happened. And toxic energies from my past people in relationships are now leaving my body. So she's like holding, her energy field is holding on quite a bit of old toxicity, old relationship, old patterns, and it's making it really hard for her to show up in the present moment. And so we want to cut those cords. We want to help her to move forward. All right, so and then once we've done that, we can manifest, right? Now we want to move forward. Now, sometimes when I work with people on relationship in specific, we work through these just one panel at a time. Like 1 week we do one, and anything that shows to help clear the childhood stuff, right? And then the next week we might move on. Well, only when we've cleared all that really fully do we move on to manifestation. But today we're going to go ahead and move on to manifestation so you can see it. So honest communication is one of my natural strengths. So that's a little bit out of balance in some way. She feels like she has to maybe deceive in order to communicate correctly. Drawing boundaries and fostering respect is important. Now, I happen to know that boundaries are a thing for Stacy, that she's really working towards setting good, energetic boundaries within her relationship. So it makes sense that that's showing here. I am loving, laughing, and enjoying being in relationships. Sometimes we get so bogged down with the heaviness and the toxicity of old stuff, we forget to live in the present moment and be joyful in the relationship that we have. Having a healthy and loving relationship is just a normal part of life. I'm open to what my partner has to say to me. Sometimes we're so living in the past, we can't really receive the new information. I easily draw someone into my life with similar values. I'm thriving and enjoying a relationship with complete ease. I choose to surround myself with positivity. I'm allowing love in my life, and I accept that I am infinitely loved, right? So we're definitely looking at kind of the allowing and the accepting of love and being loved, drawing, and from that place, drawing relationship to you. Remember, the thought process in the electromagnetic field, it's like the thought is what gets broadcast, and the emotion is what draws the molecules back towards you. So if you're thinking positively, even if the relationship is hard, if you're trying to stay in a positive space and you're thinking positivity and you're trying to move from a place of grounded, loving relationship, which is kind, not always nice, then you're going to attract that back to you. But if you're constantly thinking negative thoughts and you're constantly broadcasting this negative energy, anxiety, panic, sadness, judgment, blame, then that's what's going to be reflected back to you in your relationship. If you're seeing a lot of that in relationship, if you're having a lot of arguing and anger and judgment in your relationship, then somewhere in you, you're also part of the broadcasting of that, and you've attracted it into you. Now, you've attracted it to you to learn a lesson, not in a bad way. Remember, there's no good or bad. There only is. And so if it's happening for you, it's there for a lesson. It's there for you to have some growth. It's there for you to kind of look at it and say, what do I need out of this relationship? And remember, relationships, they will come and go. We will let them go as well. Like, you know, have you ever had a friend that was like your best friend for 10 years and then no longer, they're not with you like something happened and you grew apart and you don't talk anymore? That's because we have certain relationships at certain point in our times, and they serve in our life, and they serve a purpose, and then we outgrow them. We move on. We don't resonate with that relationship in some way anymore. It's not good or bad. It just means that we're moving in a different direction. Okay, and then the last one is the union and harmony, right? So now we want to really bring in, we are clearing this old stuff, we're manifesting what we want, and we want that to be in union and harmony, and we want to make sure that we're bringing in any frequencies that help harmonize us so that we can then broadcast a different frequency, and then because we're broadcasting a different frequency, we're going to attract a different thing back in. So it looks like here we're going to be looking at the nervous system. So she's, again, that reactive place, that brainstem place, that anxiety that she's kind of sitting in, depression, things like that, then that's going to make it really hard to attract what she wants. Kundalini expand, that's our core energy, our connection to the consciousness energy. It moves from the base of the spine up through the chakras to the crown chakra. And so we're going to use a frequency here, a right frequency, 55 hertz, to really help expand that energy. That's a grounded energy. And from there, she can express outward. But if she doesn't have enough connection to her own self, her own higher self, the whole oneness, she can't expand into other relationships yet. I own my feelings and express them with kindness and love. Acetylcholine has a whole lot of, it's a neurotransmitter, and it's involved in some of those brainstem pathways, but it's also about memory, and it's also about, it's involved in just about everything. I enjoy being in the moment in the process of being consciously in a relationship. So she might be missing the moment. Remember, she's in that reactive mind and not quite staying in the present moment. So some really great tools for her would be to really work on mindfulness, a lot of like bringing her awareness back to this moment, and like evaluating with curiosity what was happening that got me all triggered, right? Like a trigger is not for you to surrender to. We don't get triggered so that we can just go down into the pity pool, although we do fall into the pity pool quite a bit. But the idea of the pity pool is we fall in and then we get out and we're like, oh, right, like I see what's going on. I maybe swam around for a little while in the pity pool, but then I got to get back out, right? Or that's what I call it. And I get that from Jackie Mooney, who is an excellent teacher of applied neurology. I willingly participate in a relationship as an adult. So here is the acknowledgement in the present moment that she's been functioning from that childhood wound. And now we want to bring her into this current time frame. Building a relationship is worth any and all effort. So there could be a feeling of like, what's it all worth? That's that low-level depression that can show up kind of underneath. I explore criticisms of my partner as possibly criticisms of myself. So this is an interesting one because this is what we've been talking about, like how our partner is going to reflect back to us our own shit, what we need to work on. And when you're really grounded in a very divine and conscious relationship, you can do this in a really beautiful way. My husband and I work on it a lot. I'm not saying that we always hang out there, but we are now at a point where he can say, do you see that you're in an old pattern? And I cannot hit him for saying that. No, I'm kidding. I would not hit him, but like, I might have a little fire if you guys haven't been able to tell. And so I might be a little irritable or angry or say things I don't mean sometimes. Now I'm able to stay present and grounded and not come from that childhood place. Always. I mean, it still happens. I want you to know. So energizing brain cells, nerve inflammation. I know inflammation is a thing. I participate in conscious partnership. That's what I was just talking about, being able to stay grounded and hear and communicate without like going into reactive patterning. I gather all resources to live in a relationship in a positive way. The amygdala, which gets to shut down that ability to stay in the present moment. I enjoy being in a relationship that is perfectly imperfect. This one is good for her because she's got some perfectionism, right? So being able to be in a relationship that doesn't exactly live up to perfection and loving the fact that it isn't perfect, right? Like that's what creates the juice of the energy or the juice of the relationship is conflict, and not conflict in a bad way, but conflict in that you challenge each other so that you get all this really great juicy growth. Cortisol, so stress stuff. And I embrace commitment. So sometimes it can be hard for us to really step into commitment, especially if we're in a reactive pattern. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and just see what pops up into the high zone. So of all that stuff we just pulled in there, kind of what pops up to the top. And what pops up here is I become ready to be in a healthy relationship with ease. So this is about her readying herself. She's doing the work for herself and getting ready to then be in a good relationship with other people. I embrace commitment. Again, it can be hard to step into commitment when we're so afraid of being hurt again. Right under that is the anger, rage, and frustration and the stress response from cortisol. She needs that Kundalini energy to help her really get grounded in her own self, knowing herself, know thyself, and then from there have relationship, right? First it comes from us, and then we can broadcast that out. I consciously remove toxic cords that I have created with other people. So, right, that's that whole like other people's energy is still draining her, and probably her kids, but probably old relationship as well. I enjoy being in a relationship that is perfectly imperfect. It showed up high there. Brain cells energized. The amygdala needs a little balancing. I'm allowing love in my life. I accept that I am infinitely loved. I thrive in a relationship while keeping myself healthy and whole, right? Okay, so that means she didn't give herself away to the relationship. She didn't deplete herself energetically in order to hold other people in relationship. So that's kind of what's showing up at the high of all of that. So we're just going to run that for a couple minutes, and then we'll go look to see what that did in her aura. I'm going to look to see if anybody has any questions. Remember, the way to communicate with me in this moment is through the chat, and then I'll be able to respond back to you through the chat. Oops. And then when that has run, we will go back and look to see what her aura looks like. So relationship, then I want to make sure that we're when we talk about relationship, that right now in today's demo, what we're really looking at is how the people around us are reflecting back things for ourselves to learn. It's not if we're blaming. So I think you guys have probably heard me talk about automatic negative thoughts, and that's Dr. Daniel Amen's work. There's 9 different types of ants. He calls them automatic negative thoughts. And the one, they're all black ants except for the one that's a red ant. And the red ant is blame. So if you're blaming the relationship, if you're blaming the other person, if you're blaming yourself, if you're blaming the situation, then you're a victim to the situation. And if you stay a victim, if you stay in blame, then you can't be free of that. You have to be able to forgive, break cords, and move forward, right? And again, forgiveness work, which from the overall wellness perspective, if people only did forgiveness work, they would heal almost all of their illness, right? Because almost all of what makes us ill is old stuff we carry around. And if we put it down, then we can't be heavy with it. We can't create these long-term expressions. So like a chronic illness of some sort is a long-term expression of an emotion that we're ignoring in some kind of way, or we've assigned the wrong mental meaning in some kind of way. And so it's only there. Our bodies physically are like, I want you to think of them as like, they're just here as a communication device. Like there's nothing good or bad about what's going on with our body. It's just trying to tell us what's going on in our whole energetic field. So if we have a chronic something going on, a pain or an illness, then that's just, we need to go deeper and learn what's going on with our body on the vital level. So what may be going on in those chakras, what's going on in that energy field, what's going on in the mental field, what's going on in this higher supramental field. I often do lots of work with people on understanding what's going on from the 5 elements perspective in Chinese medicine. So, okay, let's take a quick look over here and then we'll wrap it up for today and just see how that aura is looking now. Now we ran it for only about 2 minutes. Normally I would run this for about 30 minutes. And probably before I ran it, I would go get anything else from the kinesiologist out there. I would cross-reference anything as I was going and make sure I was collecting information and putting it in. Now look at this. It's going to show up on your screen in just a second. There's a little bit of a delay, but she moved a ton. Look at how much more vibrant. Now the pink and the red here is, and the orange is really shutting out. That orange is down by the sacral chakra. So we're really starting to move that Kundalini energy. We're starting to get into her, that sacral chakra is the connection energy, right? So her ability to be creative and intuitive and really tap into her divine feminine, that's like starting to show up there, right? Like get really strong. And also this vibrant magenta in her higher field, which is really the integration of her mental field, what she knows wisdom-wise with her higher consciousness, how that all integrates together. So she's really moving very big energy between her mental body and her higher consciousness. So that's really beautiful work. And you saw the little thing pop up that said that she responded well. That's just in 2 minutes. Now, sometimes I think actually we get these huge bursts of energy. And if I were to run it again, it looks worse because we like peel away the first level and now we're going deeper. And so like, that's what we like to see as we work, is kind of peeling away a level and seeing what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and run it for her for 30 minutes. We won't get to see the results of that, but I will let her know what that looked like. Because that's how I would normally run a session, is to then run it for longer. And sometimes I run like small chunks and then go find a different set of small chunks and then go find a different set of small chunks. So, okay, you guys, that is it for today. Thank you guys for being here. As always, I appreciate your support and showing up. But also I just love being able to show you guys how this technology, it's changing. This is the future of medicine. It's the ability to see this whole picture and not just the physical level, which is kind of where we've been. This is true healing because we can really look at root issues and how that's entangled with the energy of people around us, and understanding that. So always, if you want a session or a free personal consultation, reach out to us through email, lauracardwellqiw@gmail.com. And every other week, we're here on Facebook Live doing a demo. You're welcome to be the volunteer. You can just email us or send us a message on social media and let us know you want to be the volunteer. And we would love to have you be here for that. I think that's it. I'll stop rambling. I love you bunches, and I will see you guys soon. Okay, bye. And here's the awkward moment where I say bye, and then I have to figure out how to stop everything.